A new Canadian-led study provides good news for the 250,000 Canadians who suffer from atrial fibrillation, a heart condition that causes 15% of strokes. In the past, physicians have had to treat atrial fibrillation patients with medications that impose challenging restrictions on their day-to-day lives. New results from the RELY trial demonstrate that Pradax, also referred to as dabigatran, considerably reduces the risk of stroke, bleeding, and death for people with atrial fibrillation. Pradax is part of a new generation of blood thinners that eliminates the need for lifelong tests, dose adjustments, and numerous food and drug restrictions that are needed for the current standard therapy known as Coumadin or warfarin. Dr. Stuart Connolly, co-principal investigator of the RELY trial and director, Division of Cardiology at the Population Health Research Institute at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario.
RELY is a unique study because it has evaluated dabigatran in patients with atrial fibrillation, and it's shown that this drug is safer, more effective, and easier to use than our usual therapy with a blood thinner called warfarin.
RELY is the largest trial of its kind involving more than 18,000 patients in more than 900 centers in 44 countries around the world. In Canada, 1,150 patients in 52 centers were enrolled in the trial. Mr. Adrian Van Halderen participated in the trial.
I was first diagnosed with atrial fibrillation in '94. The the heart specialist at the time, sent me to Dr. Stuart Connolly because he had a special program going on to monitor patients with atrial fibrillation. After 10 years, this monitoring program stopped, and Dr. Connolly insisted that I get onto a blood thinner to control the possibility of stroke. And being reluctant to get onto warfarin, he recommended that I get involved with this test program, RELY, which offered the possibility of an alternative to Coumadin, which is called dabigatran. And I've been on it since, and I've had no side effects.
According to the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada, Canadians currently diagnosed with atrial fibrillation are at least 5 times more at risk of having a stroke and twice as likely to die from one. The results of the RELY trial demonstrate that atrial fibrillation patients taking Pradax significantly reduce their risk of stroke and life-threatening bleeding compared to patients well controlled on warfarin.
What's really exciting about the RELY study is that for the first time in almost 50 years, we have a new treatment for preventing stroke in patients with atrial fibrillation. Stroke is really a big problem for these patients, and the treatment that we currently have has lots of problems and is very hard to use. With dabigatran, we're definitely going to have something new for patients with atrial fibrillation that's more effective, it's safe, and it's easy to use, and it's definitely going to improve patient outcomes.
When I started the program, I felt more secure about myself. I was given a clear warning that you don't want a stroke. And being on this program and I felt more protected against that possibility. The program itself is well monitored, and I have had a very good and positive experience.
Atrial fibrillation, a type of irregular heart rhythm known as arrhythmia, can cause the heart to beat very fast, sometimes more than 150 beats per minute. Strokes due to atrial fibrillation tend to be severe, with an increased likelihood of death and disability, causing an added burden to the Canadian healthcare system. The results of the RELY trial are published in the New England Journal of Medicine.